Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Unqualified with your host, Anna Faris.
Thank you guys so much for doing my podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Cameron, I did want to tell you something really quickly, though.
Sure.
Which is a little fangirly.
Aw.
When I watched you in Charlie's Angels, I had this revelation of like, oh my God, if she's having so much fun, that means all of us as an audience are having a blast.
Yeah.
And kind of taking that spirit. If I'm having fun, they're bound to have fun.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Yeah, because it really is that. It's a translation. It's like being in the room with somebody. It's like if you're having a good time, what you're putting off is more likely to be infectious to people, that energy. The same as like going into a room and being a total dick. Like everybody's like, like walking around like, on eggshells because, we all know those people. But yeah, it's about having a good time and letting people have a good time with you.
Well, thank you, though. That has been like a huge lesson for me.
Well, I always have a great time watching you. I'm always like, she's just having a good time.
Thanks. Not always.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
I do.
You're acting that at least.
Yeah. I put on my Cameron Diaz.
There you go.
So we recently went back to our original format where we talk with our listeners and try to offer them advice on various topics. And we are going to talk with Erica first. I could tell my mom was impressed when she heard that Vital Farms was sponsoring Unqualified. She's the kind of cook who credits her ingredients with the success of a dish, and Vital Farms eggs are the only eggs she will buy. As expected, she launched into a familiar monologue on the deep color and firm shells of Vital Farms eggs. I told her how Vital Farms worked with small family-run farms and how a Vital Farms hen had 90 times more space than a cage-free hen with year-round outdoor access. She said she heard me say that last week. I just texted my mom and told her I was about to make a clafouti, which was my absolute favorite breakfast dish growing up. It's kind of a cross between a flan and a Dutch baby pancake. It also straddles the line between breakfast and dessert. So my mom texted back, well, why don't you make a quiche or a souffle? Clafoutis are too easy. So, clafoutis are ridiculously easy to make, but they look impressive, and it's nearly impossible to make one that isn't delicious. I was planning on making this clafouti with fresh blueberries, but someone ate them. Not a problem, because you can use almost any fruit, fresh, frozen, or canned, and in any combination you like. I'm going to use frozen cherries and frozen peaches, which I put in a bowl. I then add about 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. You can add more or less depending on how sweet you like things. Next is the batter. In a separate, larger bowl, I add 1 3/4 cups of whole milk, 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and 3/4 of a cup all-purpose flour. Season it with 1 teaspoon sea salt and 1 tablespoon vanilla extract. Then I add 4 large Vital Farms eggs. The egg yolks of a Vital Farms egg really are unlike other eggs, and I don't miss having to remove little pieces of shell. I like to add 1 additional yolk, so I drain the whites of a 5th egg and I add that too. You then whisk until everything is perfectly smooth. You can use a blender instead, but I'm too lazy to clean the blender. All right, I'm using a 1.5-inch by 9-inch ceramic coated tart-style pan, but you can also use a casserole dish or even a cast iron skillet. As you can probably tell by now, it's a pretty forgiving recipe. Whatever pan you decide on, the next step is to take your Vital Farms unsalted butter and work it into every groove. Then you add the fruit to the pan and level everything out with a spoon. Now I'm adding the batter all the way to the top edge. It will cook a little bit above as it puffs up, but eventually settle back down when it cools. I've preheated the oven to 375 and will now bake the clafouti for 35 to 40 minutes. Okay, I'll be back. You'll know it's done when the outside edges are golden brown and the center will be set, much like a flan. By now, your house will smell amazing and everyone will be impatient. It's meant to be eaten warm, so how long you let it rest is up to you. I also recommend trying it as a midnight snack right out of the fridge, if there's anything left from breakfast. My mom's recipe calls for topping it off with a little powdered sugar, but for me, that depends if I'm going for the breakfast or dessert version. And that's it. I promise you will love this recipe. So grab a carton of Vital Farms eggs the next time you're at the grocery store and start feeling confident about where your food comes from. Go to vitalfarms.com to learn more. Vital Farms. Hi, Erica.
Hi.
I'm so nervous.
Oh, don't be. I'm here with Katherine and Cameron, and I know it is a lot, though. It's a lot for me. My heart was pounding before they got on. I'm like, oh, God. Erica, the three of us read your letter, but will you tell our listeners what's going on?
Yes, I will. I wrote in because I just recently got out of a 6-year relationship. I'm 25, and one of the issues in the relationship that ended with it ending was because of our sex life, and it just wasn't great, and it had gotten worse over the last couple of years of the relationship. And I just kind of left the relationship feeling really confused and kind of undesirable. And, now that I'm 25 and I feel like I kind of have to start over, and I just don't really know how to rediscover myself, regain confidence, and especially when now I'm kind of scared of what's out there, and I'm scared of going back out there, and just kind of scared of men in general. So I just was looking for advice on how to take a fresh start, how to find yourself again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Heartbreak is rough. It's kind of interesting and weirdly maybe comforting that your sex life, there was a downward trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron, Katherine, how does one get over heartbreak?
Well, first off, you're 25, so you're really lucky because you're so young and this is part of life, especially being 25.
I was going to say, I would be worried about somebody getting married to someone that at 25 that they had dated for 6 years. This is when you start to know who you are.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I think that, we look at sex and we are inundated with what sexuality, sex looks like between men and women, and inundated with just in daily life, hypersexualization of women, that we're supposed to look and be a certain way to be attractive to men. Men have gotten this idea that women are supposed to be attracted to women that look that way because it's in their face as well. And really what a sexual relationship with a partner really is about is intimacy. Whatever that looks like, whatever that reveal to one another is, it could be hypersexualized. It can be something that is overtly sexual in a relationship or in the bedroom, but it's also about revealing yourself to another person and feeling safe to do so and for it to be reciprocated, not for one person to be holding back something about themselves and not revealing what they desire or what they want or how they feel or what they're afraid of. And this is the thing that we don't realize. We're not taught this about sexuality, about our relationships with our partners sexually, is that really it's just about intimacy. And that's scary. I mean, revealing yourself is terrifying. And I think especially at a young age, you're not even aware of yourself yet. You're not even certain what your fears are or what you like or what you might connect with another person. And you certainly can't do that if they're not willing to receive and they're not willing to reciprocate. So that's a journey. That's going to take a long time possibly for you to find that with somebody. But the thing that you definitely need to do is find somebody who's willing to do the same as you. You can't do it on your own. You can practice it. You can be in a relationship and practice being vulnerable, and it may not be received, but at least you're doing it. At least you're strengthening that muscle of displaying your vulnerability. And if that person's not receiving it, they're not capable of it, you just move on and you find somebody who can.
Cameron, shit, you're so good at this. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you kind of read my mind. That's kind of exactly what happened. I did really try to be really vulnerable in the relationship and talk to him about it openly and try to just have conversations with him where I said, there's no shame, let's just work on this and figure it out. But it just wasn't reciprocated. And by the end, he was kind of interested in somebody else. And like, I gave it my best and I tried and it just didn't work out. And so now it feels confusing to do all of that and still not get anything back.
It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. And I would guarantee that this is about a lot more than sex. You know, at your age, when you come to that age, you start to settle into what you like, what's important, and you just kind of start to find your groove. And I'm not surprised to see a relationship that started at 19 and at 25, because that's that time period. It could just be not the right fit. And I think sometimes we look for areas where we can try to articulate something going wrong when it's just a feeling. It just might be you're not grooving with each other. And the person that you should spend your life with or be in a long relationship with, it should just feel right. It should feel really easy. And if it's not feeling right for one or both of you, it's time to end it. And I would guarantee you that it's just kind of not the right fit. I don't think it's about sex specifically.
Yeah. I think we also, 19 to 25, you're changing so much. You're learning so much about yourself. And it's about growth. And if you guys are not growing together, you know, you can both be growing, but you can be growing apart, right? Or you can keep sort of a parallel growth. But like she said, it's not surprising because you're so young, but also just learning to know yourself. Like, take the time, forget about a relationship right now. Just take the time at this age to learn about yourself, to go and like dive into your truths and what it is that you like. Forget about him. Forget about what didn't work between you guys and what you could have done different, or maybe what you could have been more for him. It doesn't have anything to do with you. His desires or lack of interest or whatever, that's his journey. Like, let that go. Like, move on, you know? Just get your own truth, understand yourself better. That way you have something to offer to somebody going forward. You know, it's that rear view mirror. If you're looking in the rear view mirror, you're not looking at the road. Try to get to a destination only looking in the rear view mirror. You're going to crash. You know, so just keep looking forward.
You could think about it as an exciting fresh start where you can now figure out what are your relationship goals. You know, what do you want out of a partner? And then make sure you're going and you're getting that exact thing, right? Because I don't think you even know that because you've just been in this relationship for so long. So I would try to look at it as a fresh start. And you are a young, beautiful woman who's going to have, you know, 5 years from now, when you're in another relationship, you're going to say, oh, thank God. Like thank God that we were able to cut ties and go in different directions, because now look where I am. I guarantee it.
And really, truly, happiness is about self-esteem. Love yourself. Do not beat yourself up. Know your value. Love who you are. Don't apologize for it. You know, not to say that we don't all have character traits that we need to be self-aware of, because they can definitely intrude on other people. Just take this time to become self-aware and make sure that you're taking care of your self-esteem and your own self-value.
You guys are both so good at this. This is the quietest I think I've ever been.
Well, we've done a lot of therapy.
Yeah, we've done a lot of therapy.
And I love exactly what you're saying. I would have been like, oh, you know, like sort of chewing on the heartbreak a little bit. But it is pointless. We do tend to romanticize, for better or for worse, our relationships and dwell on them. I love it that you guys are like,
move on.
Let's go. Yeah.
Keep going.
So how does that sound, Erica?
Yeah, it feels really positive and it is really reassuring. You know, I think maybe right now I'm just not feeling the confidence and like the self-esteem that I need. And we'll have to keep working on that, I guess. And it takes time, but
you'll get there.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen at some point. This feels like a hard in-between time.
I agree with Cameron and Katherine that you should use this time for kind of getting to know yourself better. And 25 is a good time to start figuring out what you really want in a partner. Erica, this sounds like super simple advice, but try giving a stranger a compliment like once or twice a week. Little things like that will help sort of nurture that side of you that will bring you some like minor joy under the weight of the breakup.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
Thanks so much for talking with us, Erica.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Erica.
Yeah, it was awesome to meet you guys and talk to you guys.
You as well.
Thank you.
Bye, Erica.
Bye.
You two are unbelievable. That was just awesome.
We've been through it.
Well, and a lot of my podcast guests are like people in their 20s, and I'm 44. And Cameron, I think I heard an interview where you were talking about sort of, I don't know if you put it as the liberation of 40, but
yeah,
I really enjoy this decade.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so great. The 40s are the best. I can't wait. I'm 1 year away from my 50. I can't wait.
I was telling my husband that I'm going to make an awesome 93-year-old. Like, people are just going to love me.
I can't wait. Like, today I had a little bit of a fantasy, or maybe it was last night. I was like, you know what I should do? I should just go live on Capri. Like, be one of those old Italian women that only have like a certain area of the world that they occupy, and they shuffle up and down the street, and they carry their groceries every day, and they look out the window, they know everybody, and they have a cat that comes and goes.
I love this.
Like, how does that happen?
It can be done.
Yeah, it can be done, Cameron. I think we should all do it together.
I know, right? We need a little community of expats on Capri.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, please. That would be incredible. I do think this last year I've been reflective kind of for the first time in my life a little bit, and sort of a shift in priorities. I think a lot of people experienced that.
For sure. 1,000%. I think that was the silver lining of the whole experience, the whole moment in time in history.
Okay, before we talk with our next listener, I have a few questions for you guys. First, how old were you when you really thought you were in love?
Oh, gosh, 9 years old.
9 years old.
I feel the same way. I was like, I have diaries.
I was like 19.
I thought I was in love with a boy in kindergarten,
Right.
Like heart crushing love.
Really?
Yeah.
I definitely had crushes on boys, but it was never that.
But like in love, like relationship kind of situation?
Yeah, like for me, I feel like for most people, like that raw intensity love where you're like, I might die. I feel like that tends to happen between like 16 and 19.
Yeah.
And then also the heartbreaks are like physical at that time.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. I had a heartbreak when I was 16 into 17. And you know what was so wild is like anytime I would go back to that moment, I would like crumble, like even into my 40s. Like I had like a visceral feeling of like the heartbreak. And my therapist took me back in a little time vessel of like going back to that 16-year-old who couldn't carry the basket of laundry because she fell on the floor and was like catatonic, hysterical because her heart was breaking. And just let her know that she's going to be okay, and that, there's nothing she could do, and this is part of life, and you're going to be okay. It literally healed that moment. And from that moment on, I never cried once again, or can't even muster up the feeling again.
That's good. I also think, too, at that age, I don't know if you felt this way, Cameron, but it's so much less about the partner, the other person, because we're so consumed with oneself, I think. Or at least I just had really bad judgment.
I think it's just all new. You know what I mean? You're having just like first experiences. You know what I mean?
I think and it's part of, self-discovery and development. And it is often so focused on oneself. But that's kind of the point of going through it, so that you can separate those feelings from like what's real later on, Yeah.
I've been married twice before. And for me, I think in my 20s, I was in this new big city, and that felt like the one part of my life I could maybe control. I remember when I got engaged, I didn't want to call my parents and tell them. I was like, oh, God. And I'm kind of bummed, too. And yet, still did it.
Yeah. I think that it's becoming less and less now, but I think there certainly was a societal sort of norm that we kind of grew up with at our ages where, there was still like, you get married and you have kids. That's sort of your path. And especially if you have, for me, I had parents who got married at 18 and 19 and had kids right away. And, my mom was 19 and 22 and she had her kids, So I always thought I was going to be married and have kids by the time I was 22. I would have 2 kids and be married.
Yeah.
And then I was 22 and I was like, what the fuck? Why would I ever do that? Why would I do that? You know what I mean? I just realized because my parents didn't have other options. I had all these other opportunities that my parents didn't have. And I was like, that's not for me. I want to go and do things that I have these opportunities to do. And being married doesn't really help me maximize that experience,
Yeah. I think when I was younger, I maybe just went along with it because it seemed easier. Okay, wait. So speaking of weddings, I think Gina is on the line. You guys read her letter. Are you ready?
Sure. Love a little wedding drama.
Weddings are a big topic on this podcast.
Really a waste of money and energy, and what a scam that industry has going.
I just eloped and we had the best time. This episode of Unqualified is brought to you in part by OSEA. OSEA stands for Ocean, Sun, Earth, and Atmosphere, and for more than 25 years, OSEA has been making award-winning skin and body care products that are good for your skin and the planet. You could say that the founders of OSEA appreciated clean beauty before there really was clean beauty. Using sustainably sourced, plant-derived clean ingredients, OSEA's nutrient-dense formulas give you the results you want. Skin that looks and feels amazing. I should probably stress at this point that I'm pretty lazy. If I don't see results from minimal effort, I usually just won't do something. That kind of sums up my experience with body oils and lotions until I added OSEA's Undaria algae body oil to my routine. I know routine sounds like I put in effort, so don't forget the lazy part. I immediately decided that this oil was a good idea when my husband complimented my soft skin. On a practical level, I can also tell you that it soaks in quickly, isn't greasy, and smells incredible like all of their products. Experience your new favorite clean skincare line with a special discount just for Unqualified listeners. Get 10% off your first order with promo code ANNA at OSEAMalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order, and orders over $50 get free shipping. You're going to want it all. Go to OSEAMalibu.com. Use code ANNA. This episode of Unqualified is brought to you in part by Vital Farms. I have been a fan of Vital Farms for a long time because their eggs are the best I've ever tasted. Just as impressive is how Vital Farms works directly with small family-run farms, committed to the ethical treatment of animals and the land on which they're raised. Vital Farms hens spend their days doing the things that hens like to do with year-round outdoor access equaling 90 times more space than a cage-free hen. Even better, those spacious pastures are free of herbicides and pesticides because healthier land means healthier, happier hens, and happy hens lay delicious, quality eggs. Want to see what a happy hen looks like? On the side of your Vital Farms egg carton is the name of a farm. If you go to the Vital Farms website and enter that name, you can see the actual pasture where those particular eggs came from. So grab a carton of Vital Farms eggs the next time you're at the grocery store and start feeling confident about where your food comes from. Go to vitalfarms.com to learn more. Vital Farms, where honest food is raised. Hi, Gina.
Hi.
Gina, you are here with Cameron and Katherine.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Thank you so much for writing to us. Will you tell our listeners what's going on?
No, thank you so much for having me. I've been listening for a long time, so this is really exciting. So I just recently got engaged, and one of the issues that's come up, but also been something that's been weighing on my mind for the last even year, is my dad's wife. She's an alcoholic. I don't think she would admit that, but we all know she's an alcoholic. And both of my older brothers are married, and she caused a scene at one of the weddings being there and then not even being there. She still managed to cause issues. She was the reason my dad left my mom. So obviously that causes some major issues just with that factor. So my first brother got married like 10 years ago, and she was not invited to the wedding because the divorce had like just happened. And so when she wasn't there, my dad was obviously upset about that and got into a fight with my other brother about it. And then he refused to even come to the reception because she wasn't invited. So then last year, my other brother got married, and she was drunk and lost her purse and proceeded to accuse my brother's brand new in-laws and like close friends and family of stealing her purse.
I don't need to hear anything more. Okay. So this is like drama. Obviously, this person has issues. And also your father obviously is an issue. I'm sure you probably need to do a lot of therapy about that, because your father clearly is not honoring any of you. First cheating on your mother, then pushing a woman into your life that you don't want in your life, who was the reason that he, utilized to get out of the marriage from your mother. But I'm just going to say this. Your marriage is about you. Your wedding is about you. It's not about your dad. It's not about his wife. And if your father cannot put you before himself or his wife to honor you on the day that's one of the most important days of your life, to come forward in a ceremony to join you and your husband, that's what it's about. It's about who you want to be present for that ceremony, to witness that. It's about your community who's going to help the two of you remember what you said to one another, to be your support team when the time gets difficult. That woman is not a person you're going to go to. Maybe not even your father is going to be that person. Let go of like the idea of what a wedding is supposed to be about for everybody else, and think about what you want it to be for you.
Right. I think it's hard because I do want my dad there. And sometimes it seems like he's starting to kind of understand like where we're at. And like, perfect example of my brother's wedding was like that night, he was understanding of like, what is this? He's like, you don't have to see her again. Don't worry about it. But then the next day is like, someone did steal. I'm like, oh yeah, who was it? Our best friends of 20 years or the in-laws? Like really, like, are you insane? So I do want my dad there. Like I hear what you're saying, but I do want my dad there. I mean, he has changed in the last 10 years, and I do want him to walk me down the aisle. And it's hard because I feel like if I choose to not have her there or not have him there, what effect does that have even for the rest of my life moving forward?
Well, just have a conversation with your dad. Sit him down with him and say, hey, Dad, look at what means so much to me as your daughter is to have you take me down the aisle. I want that. That is a gift I'm asking you to give me. But I'm also asking you to please
leave her at home.
Yeah, I'm asking you to not bring her, because I need you to respect me, honor me, not make this about you, not make this about her, but please make it about me, and don't punish me for it. That is not a healthy relationship to have with your daughter. That's not fair to do to your daughter. We're adults. This is a reasonable request, and you need to honor me.
Yeah. Gina, how does your mom play into this? Like, how would she feel? Because the other alternative is to be like, fuck it. I'm just going to like expect the worst and have a great time with these other people.
So my mom is like my best friend. So would fully support. I mean, she actually prefers she was not there because she obviously does not like this person.
Yeah.
And so I've thought about it. And I've like talked with my fiance about it. I'm like, I can go like one or a couple ways. Either she's not invited at all, or we like kind of lay down some ground rules of like, first off, you don't speak to my mother for any reason. There's no reason for you to talk to her. You don't drink. And if she drinks, which we know she will, because she'll show up drunk, then you can leave. So it's like kind of giving her the opportunity. But then on the other hand, like, why give someone an opportunity?
Yeah, you don't want to be policing that.
And it's sad because it's like, I know she's going to do it. That's inevitable. She's proven time and time again that that's what she does. And I don't want the conversation the next day, the next year to be like, oh, remember what she did at your wedding? Like, that's not fair to my brother and his now wife.
One of the things that's really important, I think, that I've learned over my lifetime that I've worked on consistently, and I think that adds such great value to my life and to my relationships, is to learning to set boundaries that I don't let other people cross, that I protect myself from other people's crap, basically. And you got to practice that. And you have to practice it in moments in life that are important to you, such as a wedding, you know, where you say, I deserve this. I deserve to have the wedding. I'm spending the money. Me and my fiance, it's our money, it's our investment, it's our time, it's our friends, it's our ceremony, it's our bonding. And it is up to me. Everything's my decision. What ecosystem I want to create for this moment. And I'm going to draw this boundary and I'm going to stick to it and I'm not going to feel bad about it. And when you really give yourself that permission and you really like draw that boundary, and anytime somebody starts to step over, you go, oh, I'm sorry. You're stepping over my boundary.
Right.
It's okay because I did this for myself. I created this for myself and I deserve it. And I'm going to take it and I'm not going to apologize for it.
Right.
And we shouldn't apologize for our boundaries. We shouldn't.
No, I do think she has to be prepared, though. You have to be prepared in the worst case scenario where your dad says, she's not going, I'm not going. Even if he doesn't say that in that first conversation, he's going to go home. They're going to have weeks to discuss it. She's the person he wakes up to every day. And there's a chance that as a result of your boundary, he's not going to come.
Right.
And so you have to be prepared for that. But remember, that's your boundary. You decided that. You decided it's okay if he doesn't come because you feel so strongly about this boundary.
And I think like I've kind of prepared for like, I'm expecting that just because again, history has shown that he'll take our side 1 minute and then the next he's not. So I'm like, you know what? I have 2 great older brothers. They'll step in.
Yes.
But it's also like, again, one of the most important days of my life. And to have that like possibly come up. And again, what does that mean for the rest of our life? Like, is that going to be like a total cutout? Which if it's her, I don't really care. I don't need to see her ever again. But if it's my dad, like it's still my dad.
I totally think both Katherine and Cameron are right. I do think Katherine's point of like your dad, like there's going to be this ripple effect of you're causing a lot of stress between me and my wife, whatever, like she'll be good or this is devastating her, whatever he will say to you. The initial conversation is important, like what Cameron was suggesting. I think timing, you know, make sure that you're feeling all right and you're getting the sense that he's feeling all right. But I would say all the reasons that it's important to him, but I would also say, like, let's call her Janice. As you know, I've had a lot of raw feelings about Janice. And I know this is going to be really difficult for you. But you have to understand that this is incredibly important to me. And I don't mean to hurt you at all. I am protecting myself from feeling unhappy that day. This episode of Unqualified is brought to you in part by Rent the Runway. Rent the Runway is like having a closet full of new designer clothes every month. Clothes you choose from thousands of styles to find the perfect outfit for whatever your calendar has in store. Ongoing deliveries let you experience all the fun without the price tag as you dress for the office, holiday parties, or just a weekend away with friends. I always love looking through clothing options for a premiere or talk show appearance, and Rent the Runway is kind of perfect for something like that. You know what's even more fun? Date night. Try putting on a beautiful Hervé Leger gown while your husband is picking up dinner from your favorite Chinese restaurant. Rent the Runway's memberships make it easy to dress for the life you want while at the same time contributing to a more sustainable world. Shipping, cleaning, and rental coverage is all included in a flat monthly price. Now, Unqualified listeners can discover new styles and new designers with this exclusive offer. Use promo code ANNA for 30% off. Valid for a limited time, so visit renttherunway.com today. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when, I like Katherine's point about like, you know, him dealing with the ripple effect with her, but I'm like, but what about the ripple effect of me, like having her there? And so it's like, at what point does he need to protect me?
Totally.
That's what I'm just going to say. This goes back to, again,
The boundary.
Because listen, people step up, okay? If you give him free reign to make his decisions, He's going to be making those decisions based off the fact that he can demand that she comes and you'll say, okay, right? And then whether or not he comes off of what he says his boundaries are to you, right? And so you acquiesce to his boundaries, to, what he says he needs from you for him to show up, right? But really, this is about what you need from him for you to have him there, right?
Right.
So he has to decide whether or not the boundary you have drawn for him to be there is something he can accept. Because this isn't about him. It's about you. It's not about you accepting his terms. It's about him accepting your terms.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because this is about you. So you can say and whatever, you can apologize that this might hurt his feelings because
I don't think I need to apologize.
I don't think so either. I think
I need to learn from Cameron.
It's not like I'm bringing up old issues and I'm I'm still mad that you left mom for her 10 years, over 10 years ago. It's not me holding on to that.
With a smile on your face, say, Dad, I love you. I'm so excited about you coming and walking me down the aisle. It would mean the world to me if you could show up. I just want to let you know that for you to come and do that, I need for Janice to not come. Janice is not invited to the ceremony or to the party. You are, she's not. And I would love for you to walk me down the aisle. Just get back to me and let me know if you can do that.
I feel like I know what you guys are going to say, but would it be terrible to be I'll go 50-50 and she can come to the ceremony, but then she can leave like a child? Or
nope.
I mean, that's what I was going to say, but I just worry, what if they don't leave?
She's going to create a whole...
She's not going to leave.
Maybe he could just come for the ceremony. And then if he feels uncomfortable being there without a date,
that's a great idea.
Just have him go. I think either way, post this day, you're going to have a very different relationship with your father.
Yeah, good or bad.
I guess that's the question I have. Do you try to just ignore Janice and give your dad that gift? Otherwise, you might be feeling the effects of this decision for a long time.
That's the thing that you're going to have to really work through, because after this conversation, it's really never going to be the same. And that's the loss.
If he chooses not to show up for you.
I mean, I think if he does the right thing and shows up, I don't really care what my relationship was with her. I really don't. I never have to see her again. I'm totally fine. But, I don't want to make him uncomfortable. But it's also kind of at what point are you going to stand up to your wife, stick up for your children? Even though we're adults, we're still your children.
That's the point.
And I think you really want to see that.
Yeah.
And if you don't see that, that's really sad, but that is what it is. And you're about to start a whole new life. And that's kind of what a wedding represents. It's a picture representing what you want the rest of your life to look like. And I remember when I got married, someone said to me, because we were debating whether to invite these friends that, you knew when you were 12, but you never speak to anymore, versus somebody you just met who you really like. And they said to me, don't worry about inviting the people that you have been friends with. Worry about inviting the people that you want to be friends with. And so that allowed me to invite someone I barely knew who 10 years later is now one of my best friends. And that was so representative of that's what I want my future life to look like. Let go of the past. My relationships with those people are what they are. And you got to just focus on the future. You're getting married. You're going to build your own family. And it's going to be great. And this is just an awkward time.
Yeah.
That was such good advice.
Yeah, it's so good.
Because I feel like the first thing that happens after an engagement is you're making the guest list. And then you're starting to argue about that because it's why does your soccer coach have to, what? And I love thinking about who instinctually, what happy face do I want to see?
Yeah.
Who do you want in your life?
Yeah. Who's that support team? Who's going to be your tribe that supports your marriage,
Yeah.
You know what? A lot of times, I found that my husband and I, after we got married, we all of a sudden found all these married couples that were not our wedding, but who are our biggest support group.
Yeah.
Those are the people that we are with all the time because we don't hang out with our single friends anymore because our lives are so different, But we were single when we met, so we have all these friends, Also, just remember your dad is a human being and he's flawed. And, it takes a lot of work to be self-aware. And if he's still making the same decisions over and over again, it's because he hasn't done any work to make anything different about himself. and that's something you can't change.
There's nothing you can do.
And there's
that.
nothing you can say to him that's going to help him see your side of things. If he's still 10 years later or whatever it is, with this woman still having these conversations with his children where he feels, betrayed, or as if you guys are not accepting this woman, if he still believes that you guys need to accept her and nobody's done the work.
We've all tried, but it's just kind of been within the last year where we're just like, we're done. I mean, I got into a fight with her a month ago. I'm like, about something stupid. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, at what point it's just done.
The problem with alcoholism, alcoholics, is that there is zero self-awareness.
Oh, yeah.
Because you cannot be self-aware when you're drunk, especially if you're a long-term alcoholic. You don't remember anything. You only remember the fighting points, right? that of survival. You don't take in the nuances of experience and emotion past, what alcohol just allows you to experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
If your dad decided not to go, how would you feel?
It will hurt, but I think I just have to be prepared for it because I know that it could go 50-50. I even know the day of he could decide not to show up because she's not there. That's the sad part of it is that could happen.
And all of that will bring some level of grief for you. But remember, you're going to have to grieve it. I think you will have to give yourself the opportunity and time to grieve that because it's a little bit of a death, but it's a day of celebration. So do everything that you can do. And that's why I say a boundary is such a protective space because you're going in ahead of it, knowing that you have created a space for yourself to feel safe and happy and celebrate and give yourself permission to do so, and not allowing other people's issues to step over the line onto that moment in your time, your experience in life.
And I think, as Cameron also said, you got to let go of the idea of what you think the ideal wedding is supposed to look like and what you think even the ideal family is supposed to look like. Because as an adult, you realize you have no control over that, and it is what it is.
Right.
And so it's really getting comfortable with that most families have issues. There's very few where you can say that's my idea of what a family should look like. And maybe this is going to be the new reality of what your family looks like.
Yeah, unfortunately, I choose not to involve myself too often with them. My core family is like my mom and her significant other and my brothers and their wives and my fiance. So it's not too big a part of my life, but it's still going to be something strange. And also kind of just like time to stand up for myself to be like, listen, I've had this person rule whatever for the last 12 years, purposely and not purposely. It's taken over my life, my brother's life, my mom's life. And I feel like this would be like we're done. So it's not just a boundary for the wedding. It's kind of, I think, moving forward, like a boundary for the rest of our lives.
Yes,
absolutely. And you know what? Your dad might, over a period of time, he might just be kicking himself, going, how could I have ever allowed that? You never know how people evolve, and maybe he'll never get there. But that's the thing. You can't worry about either way. You just have to take care of yourself in the moment. Is there anybody, I know your brothers are close to you, but has anyone been sort of like a father figure to you or showed up for you in a way that your father hasn't been able to?
I've never felt like, he was, a big part of my life. I was 22 when they divorced. So it wasn't like he was absent. He was my soccer coach till I was 18 years old. So it's not like he was not like a round figure. He was. I don't ever felt like I needed like a father figure replacement. Like I said earlier, like my mom and I are closer than we should be probably, but she's kind of has always filled my parental void.
Of course, okay, there is another version of this where everyone gets drunk and just has a crazy time. I just want it to be an awesome day for you. Whether they come or not, I just want you to focus on your husband and hopefully you can ignore all of the nonsense.
I'm excited for you to set that boundary, and I'm excited for your future.
Yeah, me too.
I'm terrified to set that boundary, but I know it has to happen.
It's going to feel so good.
Yeah.
It's going to feel so good.
And it's just reaffirming because I think, again, I knew I had like kind of two ways I could take this. It's just nice to hear from total outside observers being like, absolutely.
No, but because you know what? If the boundaries that she has to uphold are ones that are like she's already inside the party, and it's left for her to have to police herself, she's not going to do it.
She's not
she
going.
can't. She's incapable.
You're absolutely right.
But if you set the boundary that there's just no entrance, it doesn't matter. Let her flail about. Let her do what she's going to do. Let her like leave a voice message or send a text or, whatever it might be. It's outside of your day.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Gina, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
I know it's going to be an awesome day. It really will be. You're going to just look into your husband's eyes and be like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Anna, Katherine, and Cameron. Thank
Bye,
you.
Gina. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye. You both were so great talking with our listeners. You have a great perspective. That was really hard. So you're both married. Will you tell me how you met your husbands?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I met mine through my now sister-in-law and brother-in-law. I met them first, and then they didn't set us up, but we were in the same room because of them. And then we found each other.
Were you instantly drawn?
I was like, how come I didn't see him before? I was like,
Which is funny because you saw his twin brother,
no,
but
wasn't the same.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
it's not the same.
They're not
totally
the same.
different,
They're
even
so
though they're
different.
identical twins.
Yeah, they, even though they're twins, they're very, very different, obviously. But yeah, I saw him walking towards me and I was like, he's hot. I haven't seen him before.
I love that.
But then when I saw him, like who he was, that's what made me really be like, oh, you're special. Like you're the guy. You're the hidden gem in my life.
I love that. How about you, Katherine?
I met my husband through one of my business partners. She went to college with him. So very basic story.
Okay, wait. Tell me about wine.
Well, we created a wine brand called Avaline, which is a clean brand that is made with organic grapes, very low intervention without the unwanted additives that are found in many commercial wines. And it's just clean, delicious wine, super accessible across the United States. We're in about 5,000 different retailers. It's also for sale on drinkavaline.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we realized we had never questioned what was in wine because we both had always just thought it was like fermented grapes very naively. But, because everything is an industry, wine is governed by TTB, not the FDA. There is no requirement for labeling of ingredients. So if you turn the bottle around, there's no list of ingredients in a bottle. And we found out that there was over 73 ingredients that could be added to making wine. And that kind of blew our minds. And we questioned,
without any transparency,
with no transparency
or disclosure.
Yeah. And, so we were like, well, how can we tell? There's no way of telling. I mean, you can go on so many websites of wines that you love, and there's no list of ingredients. There's not any sort of
really no information at all besides
not even
the
if it's
varietal,
organic,
the vintage, right? And today's consumer really wants to know what they're putting in their body, right? We've cleaned up every aspect of our life, from groceries to skincare.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
We just personally started questioning what was in the bottle, and it set us out on a journey. And, what we learned was very surprising. So we felt compelled to create a product that was clean and transparent and started with organic grapes so that at least if you're drinking wine, you could feel better about that decision.
What advice or what have you learned about entrepreneurship over the course of this?
Well, Katherine has several companies that she's started. Who, What, Where was her first business that she started, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Then you have Merit.
I've got a color cosmetics brand called Merit and a skincare brand called Versed.
Both clean.
So I built a lot of businesses, but learning.
So we want to partner with you, Katherine.
Yeah.
But honestly, like this business was unlike any other business. It's like learning a foreign language between, the regulations and the specific laws around alcohol. It's just a very old-fashioned industry. So we really knew nothing about it.
Do you mean that in like a legality sense?
Yes. In a
It's very
structural,
antiquated.
very antiquated.
The laws that are there have been there and they haven't really changed And every state has a different law, regarding alcohol. So you have to, for every state that you're in, to get a license, you have to acquiesce to what their laws are. So it's very it's interesting.
I mean, I know it's a basic question. Overall, I'm sure there were times that were tough, that felt like roadblocks. I don't know. And then kind of overcoming those, or, getting a sense of ingenuity or whatever. Are you guys at a place where it's like, this journey has been rad?
Oh, the whole time it's been so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like where Cameron and I get excited when there's a roadblock and we like to figure out a way. We're like puzzle people, problem solvers. So we don't like no to us just means like go around this person and
figure
find
it
a
out.
different path. But yeah, and we're only we just hit a year old as a brand, and there will be many more roadblocks ahead, but that's what makes business interesting. And we're just so excited that the consumer's response has been what it's been, because we just had this feeling 3 years ago that this was going to become a larger trend, sort of the cleaning up of adult beverage, and the timing has just been right. And we're really excited to see this big community kind of build around the brand.
Do you have advice, either the best or worst advice, perhaps, that you've been given?
I think one piece of advice that I talk about a lot is just that sometimes you just have to get it done. So I think I see a lot of entrepreneurs who wait for the perfect time, the perfect amount of funding, the perfect partner, the perfect graphic design, whatever it is. And they don't put their product out in market, or they don't get to the finish line on starting a business. And it's like, sometimes you just have to get there, whatever it takes. And then after, you can kind of catch up, learn what you need to learn, perfect what you need to do. But you've got to just get out there and do something.
I think that's great advice.
For me, it was a complete change. I stopped acting, and then Katherine and I became friends just really at the beginning of that. And when this came along, this sort of idea, it was like, I really don't know anything about it. But the cool thing was like, okay, first off, she knows everything about building a business. But to be able to do it with her in a category that she didn't know either or understand was really incredible, because I got to see the process of solving problems within a business. And it really just is a skill set. Like, you can apply it from any other problem solve. You just have to ask the questions. You have to gather the information. You have to figure out the puzzle of like, how do we find our way to what our next step is to keep moving it forward. And that was, I think, the funnest part of doing it, and creating a product that we both just loved.
Yeah, that we love. We're so excited we made this, like at least once a week. I look and I'm drinking a bottle of Avaline, and I text Cameron to say, like, thank God we made this.
I know, thank God.
Because what would I be drinking?
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's
We
very
love it.
cool.
What a great feeling, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah. And I also love all of her other products too. I use everything she makes.
That's just incredible. I really hope someday we can be in Capri drinking some Avaline.
Me too.
Yeah.
What talent or ability would you most like to have?
I've always wished I could sing.
Yeah.
I wish I could, like, I don't know, like, I have ADD, which I know works for me in so many ways, but I just like to know one time what it feels like to, like, not have that process of thought.
To be like totally focused.
Yeah, like, I'd love to just kind of be like, oh, because I can't. I just don't have the ability to just be like, right in here. It's like, I can be there, but I got to go do something else really quick and then come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wish I was diligent enough to like practice my very base level Italian. Like,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I wish I could speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could
a
speak
couple of
Italian.
foreign languages. Yeah.
I don't have the chip though. I just
No.
don't have it.
Katherine, do you have children? Do you mind my asking?
I do. I have a 4-year-old.
You both have one child each, right?
Yes.
Was there anything when you were pregnant that frightened you with the concept of motherhood?
Oh, the whole thing. I mean, you don't really realize what it is until you have the baby. So I think you don't know what's coming with your first child when you're pregnant. So I think in some ways that was kind of ignorance is bliss. And I'm just trying to get through being pregnant because I was super sick. But, you just realize when this person comes out that you're responsible for everything from their health to their happiness to their confidence. It's a lot. And you sort of did it to yourself, right?
And to them.
and to them. And then you feel responsible and like the world is a tough place. And that's kind of what worries me, is just that life is hard, even when you're really blessed and really privileged. There's so many different things you go through in life, and just being responsible for another person's journey is pretty scary.
Totally agree. And then I think you kind of get numb to it. My son just turned 9. Like, you're nervous all the time, but you've learned to live with sort of the low level.
Somebody said to me, once you have a child, you never again have peace of mind. Never again. Mm-hmm. So when I was pregnant, that didn't resonate with me. But once that child is born, you can never truly be at ease, because that person is always out there. Maybe that first hour where he's asleep at night and I'm not asleep and I just sit there, that's like my most relaxing hour of the day, because I know where he is and he's safe and he's asleep. But it's the loss of peace of mind.
Completely. And I don't know if it's gotten better or worse. I mean, in terms of just my own personal, learning to live with it, that's definitely under control. But at every age, he's 9, he can cross the road, but God.
It's funny because I look at even my nieces and nephew who are grown now. My sister and I grew up so differently than them. Both our parents worked. We were latchkey kids. We had a level of self-reliance that kids don't have to have.
Cameron's in the woods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The streets of
the streets of streets of Long Beach. There's I grew up with that my whole life. It was always that way, right? So if your kid doesn't have that from the beginning, they're not building that skill set, that vigilance that it takes to survive that, right? So how do you instill that vigilance and awareness of the world if you're not letting them go into the world? But if you let them go into the world, then you can't protect them from the world. You have to rely on their vigilance, right? So how do you strike that balance of letting them be able to be self-reliant, to trust their instincts if you don't just let them do it? It's the little tasks on a daily basis, and then the information about the world in a way that's I remember my dad always saying and I think a lot of parents feel this way, but it's just how it's delivered. It's sort of I'm going to teach you this lesson because the world's going to teach it to you a lot harsher kind of thing. Right?
Right.
So what does that look like in this day and age? What does that information look like? How is it given? What is your own personal tolerance of the suffering that your child is going to have to actually experience in life in any given moment, the smallest to the biggest? We think that our children are a part of us in a way that is not separate, but they are separate. They're not us. They are their own people. And to honor that autonomy is so important.
You guys, thank you so much for spending all this time with us and for your wonderful advice.
Thank you for having the podcast and bringing us in on it.
We really, really appreciate it. And congratulations on everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great to meet you.
Bye.